What's going on, Space Monkeys? Welcome to Political Fight Club. This episode is about why Americans must read past the headlines and a little bit about propaganda and how it operates in this country and, for all intents and purposes, has operated since the dawn of time. So what I'm going to read to you here, guys, is the headline from NBC News yesterday, and then I'm going to tell you what the article below it actually says and why the headline itself is straight propaganda, and it should have been framed exactly the opposite of how it is framed if it really wanted to make the point that the article talks about. But because the people that wrote it are a bunch of fucking assholes and are probably just, paid shills that do propaganda, they know that people don't read past the headlines, typically in this country, so they think they will just spin it completely differently for the headline to make people get a completely different view of what the article actually says. But then if they get attacked for, the title not being accurate to what's in the article, they'll just go, "Oh no, that's what the article says." So I'm going to read it to you here so you understand what I'm talking about here. The article, or the title goes, "There's one campaign promise Joe Biden isn't on track to keep, and the left is okay with it." They're talking about the public option. I'll read it to you again. "There's one campaign promise Joe Biden isn't on track to keep, and the left is okay with it. The public option." When you read that, what do you think? Especially if you're like the average Joe politics consumer. This seems to allude to the fact that the left, the progressives in this country, don't care enough about healthcare expansion to even get behind a public option, right? And that they're willing to give Joe Biden a pass on not doing any type of healthcare expansion in this country. That's what that seems to indicate to me. I'll read it to you one more time. "There's one campaign promise Joe Biden isn't on track to keep, and the left is okay with it. Public option." And then you know what the article actually says, guys? It goes on to tell you that the left is actually so steadfastly in favor of universal health care that nobody's even been able to drag them towards the center, towards a public option, so that the public option doesn't really have any momentum behind it. Therefore, nobody's going after Joe Biden specifically on his campaign promise to do the public option, because the left is still rallying around Medicare for All so harshly. So, it's exactly the opposite of what the title of the article actually seems to allude to. So, if you were at all a, responsible journalist, which I'm going to give you their names, Benji Sarlin and Sahil Kapoor. Shame on you fucks. They work at NBC News. If you had a modicum of, decency when it comes to writing something like this, or objectivity, you would say public option can't gain momentum because the left is so vehemently behind Medicare for All, or Medicare for All is so popular that even Biden's promise of public option isn't popular. That's too wordy. Clean it up. But you get the point. The illusion that they're going with here is that the left seems to be meh on healthcare expansion, when in fact they're so not meh that they will not budge from their views that Medicare for All is the correct position. It's exactly the opposite of what they allude to in the title. And this is propaganda, guys. There's all different types in this country. One of the little tricks that propagandists like these two douchebags use is that they know they're status quo defenders, they're wolves in sheep's clothing. They want to write an article that looks progressive, and it is. If you actually read the article, that they talk about how the left is actually really behind universal health care, so much so that the public option hasn't been able to gain steam in this country. But they know that most people aren't going to read the article. So they go and they write a bogus headline that alludes to exactly the opposite of what their article says. That gets their point across to, your average Joe and Jane politic consumer in this country, that the left doesn't seem to care about healthcare expansion, when it's exactly the opposite, and their article says exactly the opposite. They do that so that if anybody goes after them for their title, they can go, whoa, wait, read the article. Read the article. But they know that most people don't read the article. You got to get the headline right, suckers. They do that on purpose. It's propaganda. The headline is 90% of what people, run with afterwards, and most people don't read the articles. They just don't. They know this. That's why they wrote this, like exactly the way that it was. There's one campaign promise Joe Biden isn't on track to keep, and the left is okay with it, the public option. I guarantee you, if you asked all lefties, do you prefer what Joe Biden's doing now, which is nothing on healthcare expansion, or a public option? If he were to do the public option, 100% of them would say he should do the public option. The left wants healthcare expansion. This is absolutely bogus. Bogus. I'm trying to cut down my cursing. I'm not really sure I should. I kind of like cursing. But anyway, it drives me crazy that these people get away with this stuff, and they should be shamed. Benji Sarlin and Sahil Kapoor, go get fucked. Work on your title writing. This is obvious propaganda here. So the truth of the matter is, guys, is that the progressives are so vehemently behind universal health care that we're really not even willing to meet Joe Biden halfway, which for him is actually a public option, even though he did promise that on the campaign trail. What he's doing right now is literally nothing. He can't even be swayed to lower the Medicare eligibility age to 60, which he did promise multiple times on the campaign trail. But Bernie said that he was going to hold him to 55 when he was on the campaign trail campaigning for Biden. He says, when I get in there, Joe and I are going to do this. We're going to get Medicare eligibility age down to 55 if you vote for him over Trump. Biden lied. Bernie's also full of shit, or he either lied with Biden or he's too dumb to know that Biden's a liar and wasn't going to do it to 55. So I don't know why you would... 100% of lefties are not happy with what Biden's doing right now, and this title seems to indicate that, yeah, the lefties don't really care about a public option or Medicare for all or any healthcare expansion for that matter. Shame on these two fools. So keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. I'll post a link to the article below. You can read it for yourself. I'll see ya.